And Lisa, I'm sad I have to get up here because I could listen to Lisa read forever. We should just all go home and go to bed now. But because I feel so at home here, you've probably experienced this. You write a bunch of poems, and then at the end of the week you say, "Oh my God, this is great. These are brilliant." And then the next week, like, "Oh, what was I doing?" So I've never read these before, so we'll see what happens. And if you don't invite me back, I understand. I still want to be your friend. When I was in high school, there was always this urban myth going around that there was a woman with razor blades in her hair, and you did not want to get in a fight with this woman. And I was always kind of afraid that she might show up, and I don't know what I thought she'd do, just kind of like with her hair, but... So she's in this poem. It's called Lullaby of Know for Braver Babies. Listen, babies. The woman with razor blades steeled and glistening in the spiraling curls of her hair is about to return. Her sister, with black widows webbed between her eyelashes, walks with silken speed. She will get here first. Do not stare. Do not reach out to her. Keep your buttery hand next to your breastbone. Do everything you can to make yourselves seem rounder, fleecy, baby-faced as you have ever been. She and her spiders revere innocence. They will coo and smile. It will be scary, but will make you strong. Let us sing now to the sustenance of nightmare. When the first one gets here, you will recognize her great tangle of hair glinting in the sharpened light. You will be tempted to try to touch it. She will say no, no, no. When necessary, her no can petrify the air, carve it into 1,000 unbreathable chunks. Babies, these sisters are fast, determined, indestructible. Sadly, it was not always so. In the beginning, they were born to joy. Their laughter spun the stars and sprouted seeds. They were reborn to agony when the first Neanderthal cocked his head to say, "Woman, mine." But not in the beautiful way your daddy or your mama sings it. Not like Stevie Wonder, never like Nina Simone. Woman, mine, carnivorous as the Old Testament, terrified but cocksure with its rocks and bats and guns and pills. The first sister heard those nonsensical words and turned away. The Neanderthal or the Visigoth or the emperor or the banker or whatever he was made a sound dredged ugly from midnight hunger and phlegm. He did some things we do not understand, but our bodies do. She invented the first scream. But babies, as you know, it can be easy to ignore a scream. So her scream entered the blood, cut a new course along the slender capillaries, migrated to the lungs. It is here now. It has grown its power, gained its wisdom, become the ascendant moon of the lexicon. I have heard the word no sever half the world from its pain. Babies, it belongs to you. You will need it. The razor blades and black widows are optional. Thank you. This next poem I have, it is anchored on your knowledge of plumbing, which it's doomed for failure. That's all I can say. It's called Capacity. I slink from the dream with a souvenir mound of salt in the cup of my hand. The people who wake gritty in my bed seldom come back. Every morning, I sway to the kitchen like a hungover girl from a drunken song and pour the salt into the sink. I lean in and hover, little mother of a million galaxies, watching the white bank of salt sluice down the drain. Every time I do this, I know a new ocean swells on the eve of forming. Somewhere there must be such joy. Somewhere a newly arisen Magellan traces circles in his hand. On a materializing purple sailboat, an apprentice Neruda bounces on his heels, bellowing to the infant ocean its first wave of praise. And I'm about to catch that wave, right at the peak of his rising music. When you, scratching at the salt stuck to your back, enter the kitchen in your concrete shoes. You shake your linear head and sneer. Oh, idiot, you obviously have no idea how plumbing works. You repeat this 12 times as you open the cupboard to show me the shining evidence, pointing like Napoleon to the drooping steel pipes, to the tailpiece, to the trap. But I, released from the trap, by my capacity to believe that I can levitate in the beauty of all my possible worlds, bind 72 teardrops in a ladle of salt. It forms a small island on which poets and explorers are revived every morning. Oh, realist, your shoes are so heavy you cannot go there, not now. But I will send you a letter full of chatter and sea spray, written on the belly feather of a great auk. You won't know what it is or how to read it, but you will wonder why suddenly your hands are so wet, so shaky, so empty. Thank you. I read this in the open reading last time, but it's got all kinds of, I was also editing my poetry on the way down here, and Lisa was helping me. But when I was 15, or maybe I was 24, anyway, I was much younger, vastly younger. I was Alice in Wonderland for the Little Theater in San Luis Obispo, and in a few weeks into rehearsal, the little person who played the dormouse was murdered. And so Wonderland wasn't all, Wonderland had some darkness to it. So this is called Exile from Wonderland. At 15, I played the lead in Alice in Wonderland for the local theater. My experience, like my talent, hair thin as a sapling root. The dormouse, my best friend, was an embryonic poet who wrote her quaking poems in crumbs, awful clues, spelled out in a language small and dark. She was so tiny, so twee and fey. The dollhouse features of her little face formed the letter B, as in the word brief. Her elbows, cherry pits. Her knees, pearl onions skewered on legs made of brittle twigs. The white rabbit carried baggies of toothpicks fitted with cotton ball shoes in case those two frail slivers ever snapped. They did snap, and there was no one to pick her up, no one to put her in a shoebox lined with blanket scraps, no one to carry her home. On a Thursday night, 2 weeks into rehearsal, they found the wounded bit of her body, her twee neck limp, her brittle legs spread, broken, her fey bones cracked for kindling. The fire was so slight, a yellow flicker, a glimpse of sun rising over a flea circus. Still, our sadness was too big for us, too heavy. When we set it down and looked away, it invented its own land, filled with subatomic arsonists, brutal, black cloak. They firebombed the soft-lit interiors of our newly bloomed hearts, scorched vague messages of panic and dread on our barely opened petals. Our immense trust in the dearness of the world cowered in its bud. And so, exposed, we all went mad. The hatter sewed himself a lab coat, set up a doctor's office in the liver-blushed booth of an interstate barbecue house. I never trusted him, but he was all I could afford. The Red Queen blew out her Wicca candles, cut her black hair short, bought some heavy jeans, and became a junior league booster. The March Hare, a trailer park lord. His lizard wife and 26 children are stockpiling guns against turkey vulture insurgents. I still have my Alice script, my scenes highlighted in yellow, as if everything I had to say were an illumination, as if the sun were hovering to make sure I said everything right, as if my words could have been a spotlight, leading tender creatures back through the cannibal dark. Thank you. Just so we can just keep going down. I had a good friend, and in fact I'm wearing her shirt, because she loved poetry, and if she believed in you, she believed in you, and she was your best advocate. But she died, and I'm good friends with her husband, and one of the ways he was getting through it was to listen to Joni Mitchell songs over and over and over and over again, and he would often just text me lyrics from Joni Mitchell. So this is a poem about that. It's called 17 Glasses Rhine Wine, from Joni Mitchell's song, Don't Interrupt the Sorrow. It goes, don't interrupt the sorrow, death and birth, I've got a head full of quandary and a mighty, mighty thirst. You write me a note. It reads, God damn it, Diane, I am drowning. I write, stay away from wine. You drink 13 cups of whiskey, curl into the nautilus of your grief, and nearly die on the beach. Night hecklers steal your hat. Drunkards from the valley draw flowery genitalia on your face. A coyote licks them off. A gull perches on your head. It screams every time you move. You dream it is Allen Ginsberg. You write another note, penciled and shaky. I think Allen Ginsberg hates me. I write back, Allen Ginsberg is eternal. Sorrow is eternal. That fevered old horse in the field refusing to lie itself down. Joy is the barn swallow riding its back. I send an accompanying photograph from my neighbor's farm. It is silvered with clouds and completely out of focus. You write, is this the Loch Ness Monster? We listen to Joni Mitchell sing on melted records. Her lyrics our scripture, sacrament, liturgy. Our greeting becomes thus: I got a head full of quandary and a mighty, mighty thirst. No one likes us anymore. Or maybe they just love us so much it makes them wince. We should ask. But first, we have 17 glasses of Rhine wine to drink. So let us toast 10 times to Allen Ginsberg, 6 to the fevered horse in the field, head down in the fog, and 1, forever and always, 1 sloppy toast to that tiny barn swallow who just keeps singing. God damn that little bird. Thank you. I read it to him. I don't know what he thought. I was going to end with a poem that my husband said, don't read that. Everyone will hate it, and you'll end up crying. He might be right. I don't know if I can end on it. Should I end on it? It's awful. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to cry. Just don't hold it against me. I can do better. So one of my jobs, I've had a lot of them, was I was a buyer for a store, and I would have to go to Las Vegas. I've told you this before probably. And I hated it. I was, ugh. And one day I had to ride in a limousine from one giant, hideous hotel to the next. And I was in there with a bunch of women, and we're in Las Vegas. And, and I thought, yeah, okay. So I say to them in the limousine, hey, Las Vegas, don't you think it's the quintessential man town? It stinks, it's hot, it's untenable, and if you're a woman, you're invisible if you're over 19 years old. And I thought they'd say, right on, sister. But they didn't. It was so awkward, the silence. And for me, it seemed like it lasted for 12 hours, but it was like 5 minutes. And then one of them finally said, well, so you're from San Luis Obispo. How do you like the spas there? And I'm like, I don't know. So that inspired this poem. And the other thing I guess I should tell you is that in the Bible, to me, the scariest person who haunted my childhood was the whore of Babylon. It's not the devil, it's a woman. And I love women, and I associate women with mothers and goodness and strength. And I thought, how could this woman turn against me? Well, it's like, I'm sorry, if a woman voting for Trump. What are you thinking? It bothers me more than even a man, because it's just a bad idea. So this is, from the Rolling Stones, Sympathy for the Devil, where I take my title, Please Allow Me to Introduce Myself. I shouted out, who killed the Kennedys? When after all, it was you and me. If I could feel that I belong to the earth, or maybe the quaint word is believe, or maybe the putrefied word is believe. If I could feel the earth fill me with reverence for the smell of mud, the shimmering green of the mallard. If I could feel, maybe. But as it stands now, I am not moved by the tides or by the moon. Watch me work it in a limousine with 6 women who look just like me. Fashion Week in Vegas, New York, Los Angeles. Each of us is a buyer for a big, important store. Nordstrom's, Northeastern Division, girls, street trauma and nightmare apparel. Impressed, we ask each other, how long on the job? It feels like millennia, says the one whose burnished hair makes me desire a sleek platter of caramelized flank steak. Under the flattened surface of our spackled foreheads, our brows are trying to knit, to show a tiny rivulet of shared exhaustion. The other 5 women nod. I am touched. Their collective sequin of compassion has caused a slight tear in the tight spandex atrium of my heart. And the one bruised winged serpent who still cannot lie escapes with its burning hiss of truth. I am not moved by the tides or by the moon, but by the money. I am the whore of Babylon. I let this sink in. I see by the way their mouths flutter fresh as oysters shocked by the knife and a sting of lime, they are trying to laugh it off. I spread my arms wide to embrace them whole. I am the whore of Babylon, and my dear polished darlings, so are you. I, who know the soul is harbored in the luscious sea of the body, but take my pills and take my daddy prayers and lie about it to our daughters who forsake their perfect wild, who give up the easy beauty of being comfortable in the body because I taught them to writhe in their guilt in the dark. And you, with your souls floating above you, tied to your wrists like birthday balloons, say Amen. I, who let the fathers lock our collective roar into one woman, one family, 4 walls, so that our power is as diluted as bleach in water, but nothing is purified, only poisoned. And you, behind your flowery gates, yell, congratulations. I am the whore of Babylon, who let the fathers take our sons and teach them that murder is freedom. I let the sweet boys be wounded by the bludgeon of abstraction. And together we cheer on the sidelines the empty mothers of the dead-eyed brigades. I am the whore of Babylon. Estranged from the earth, I cannot feel her. Not even in the plump curve of shade in the slight hour it loves the oak. I chopped down those oaks, built spas and prisons, and you, with your sharp gleaming shears, cut the opening ribbons and shout, good luck. I am the whore of Babylon, and my dear evangelical business geniuses, so are you. I am the whore of Babylon, who let the fathers write on my forehead that theirs is the power and the glory and the money, and ours is the injustice and the slaughter and the famine and the war and the irreverence and the annihilation. I am the whore of Babylon, and I feel sick. Thank you so much. I love you all.